Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank Chairman Grassley for his leadership on this issue and his willingness to sit down and talk to a diverse group of people that think that we have a problem that we should solve and that we must solve. Senator Grassley just did such a good job of describing some of the technical aspects of the Secure Act and the Bridge Act and other legislation that actually came together to create the Secure Act. I want to back up and talk a little bit about what we're actually trying to do here. There are two key components to this bill and to efforts that have gone before the point that we've introduced this bill that I think are very important. The first one is the DACA program. That's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. The DACA program was something that was implemented in 2012 by President Obama. What President Obama sought to do was to provide some certainty for young adults and children who were brought across the border, not through their own decisions, but through the decisions of their parents or a guardian, to cross the border illegally and then find themselves illegally present in the United States. Those, today, they're still protected because they're still protected under DACA, but the President announced on September the 5th that on March the 5th, that program would end. So now you can imagine that there are hundreds of thousands of young men and women that are uncertain about their future status in this country. It's a problem we need to solve. The other side of the equation is something that's also equally important to me and to a number of people in this body, and it has to do with our border security and interior enforcement. Back in early or late winter, I spent a week down on the southern border. And I went to the Rio Grande sector, the West Texas sector. I spoke with a lot of people at the land ports that hundreds of thousands of people cross every day. And we listened to their concerns about things that we need to do to better secure the border. Now, there are two debates in Congress right now, and I don't actually embrace either of the two extremes. There's the one extreme that says build a big, beautiful wall that's 2,000 miles long. It's impractical and not necessary. There's the other extreme that says we don't need borders, we need bridges. That's impractical and unsafe. What we need is a solution to border security so that we know who is in this country and that we have an orderly way to move between a country, someone who's in a country that wants to come and work or visit the United States and then return back in a legal fashion. The other thing that we've got to look at down in border security that I think is oftentimes overlooked is the humanitarian crisis with an unsecure border. One of the numbers that stuck with me, and there were so many that we covered when we were down with border security, but stuck with me, actually two numbers. One is the one that's most heartbreaking. Over a 20-year period, 10,000 people have died crossing the border unsuccessfully. 10,000 bodies have been recovered as a result of crossing the border and not finding their way to a safe place. About 1,000 of them were children. Unless we have the people, technology, and infrastructure on the border to know who's trying to cross, we can't protect them. Even if it means that we're going to take them into custody and potentially deport them, at least they'll be alive. Now, there's another statistic that was very important to me, too, and it was in a discussion that I had with border security agents down in Laredo, one of the big land ports where people cross every day. I'm not going to get into a lot of the details except to say that they confiscate about 400,000 doses of methamphetamine about every 48 hours in this one land port. That's what they confiscate. And by most estimates, it's only a minor percentage of all the illegal drugs that are crossing the border. So we obviously need more people, technology, and infrastructure to be able to capture people that are crossing the border through various trucks and cars. They're finding ways to hide these drugs that are poisoning our nation's youth and really people of all ages. So there's a reason for border security. There's a reason to invest in people, technology, and infrastructure. And there's a reason for us to have a productive discussion with how we can provide a compassionate, sustainable solution to the children or young adults who came to this country through not their decision, but the decisions of their adult guardians. That's what this bill, the Secure Act, is setting forth. We're trying to get a productive discussion going with Democrats and Republicans who will come together and recognize that a balanced bill that provides for border security, provides a sustainable solution for the DACA population, and get it done before March 5th. Now, there are some people that want to, I think, play a little bit of brinksmanship because they have very set in their mind how they want this bill to look. What worries me about a bill where you use timing, maybe a year-end budget agreement or some other device to get the bill done, that doesn't necessarily produce a bipartisan outcome that you can be sure is always going to be on the books. Those types of bills, those types of quick gotcha sorts of actions are oftentimes the bills that somebody will try and come back to and repeal or revise. We want a sustainable solution. We want a solution that's going to work and that's going to give certainty to this DACA population for the rest of their lives. And I think that the Bridge Act, the provisions of the Bridge Act that are now in the Succeed Act, do that. Now, I also think Senator Lankford and I filed another bill. We're full of acronyms here. I don't know, Senator Lankford, sometimes they say we're probably full of other things, but we're full of acronyms. And the Succeed Act is another bill that I think many of its provisions will be considered as we go through the negotiation process to get a bill to the President's desk. The bill that we've sponsored is called Succeed. It's a solution for undocumented children through careers, employment, education, and defending our nation. It's a lot like the Bridge Act in that we go to the DACA population and we know something about the DACA population that I think is oftentimes overlooked. It's a great group of people, a little bit less than 2 million. Many of them are working hard, going to school, serving in our military. They deserve an opportunity to provide a way to be able to recognize that's legally present in this country. And that's what I think we're going to accomplish with the Secure Act. What I hope that my Democrat colleagues will do, those who actually endorse the Bridge Act, and there are many of them, Senator Grassley ran through the list, I won't do it again, let's sit down and solve this problem. Let's accept that there are people at the far left that are going to stand on one issue at the expense of letting March 5th pass and have the DACA population at risk. Let's also tell the people at the far right who want nothing less than full deportation that that's not going to happen. Let's let the people in the center who want to come up with a sustainable, respectful, compassionate solution that's paired up with solid border security measures and interior enforcement provide a solution for this population. I think my colleagues that have worked together in the working group that Chairman Grassley has led are committed to working with Democrats to come up with a reasonable solution. I know that I am. I know my colleague, Senator Lankford, are. And we hope that everybody will sit down and recognize that at the end of the day, this is for our nation's security and for the security and the certainty of the DACA population. If we set out about accomplishing those two goals, that I think will be very successful, and then we can start building on that dialogue for so many other things that we need to talk about when it comes to interior enforcement and immigration reform. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.